Inclusion. My name is Jennifer Obo. All right, it's another edition of the program Disability Inclusion coming to you live from the network service of Radio Nigeria. And this year, we are bringing you exciting issues, matters that we need to hash out because 2023 general election is right around the corner. So we definitely want to hear from you on the program today as we talk about PVC collections. Well, in case you're just joining us for the first time, Disability Inclusion is a radio program where we get to talk about everything that has to do with persons with disabilities. We highlight the challenges, the opportunities that they ought to have, and of course, prefer the way forward. The topic for today is the review of PVC collections by persons with disabilities, challenges, and the way forward. We have our guest, Paul James, the Program Manager Elections, YAG Africa. Good evening, sir, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
All right, so the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has directed registered voters across the country that are yet to get their cards to go to their various wards for the collection of their permanent voter cards. Each registered voter is expected to go to the state where he or she was registered and locate the local government area and the local government area code with the registration area name and code at the collection center. So the commission had in December fixed December 12th to January 22nd for the collection of PVCs in all the 774 local government areas to enable the masses ample time to collect their PVCs and carry out their civic rights to vote on election day. Now, aside from the challenges of unavailable PVCs, there have been a series of reports of missing PVCs, including poor communication on the place and time of collection, and alleged extortion by INEC officials in the process. The combination of all these factors is enough to challenge persons with disabilities' confidence in the process and further discourage them from participating in the forthcoming election. There is a need to review the process and make possible recommendations to foster the participation of persons with disabilities in the forthcoming general election. And this will be our focus for tonight. And we are talking about the PVC collections and how it affects persons with disabilities. Have you collected your permanent voter card? What are the processes? What are some of the challenges you might have faced or even facing now in terms of collecting your permanent voter card? Once again, my name is Jennifer Obo on the program Disability Inclusion, and I'm with the program manager elections here at Africa, Paul James, and he's right here with us in the studio live to talk on this issue. First, what's the percentage of registered persons who have collected their PVCs, and do we have sufficient time for those who are yet to collect theirs?
I think this first question should have been directed to INEC because I am sincerely surprised that at this point we don't have any available data on that. If you compare this period with the same period as in 2019, by this period in 2019, INEC was reading out a daily updates of the number of PVCs that have been collected and the number of PVCs that are uncollected. But before we go into that discourse, I think the first point to start is even the data of the PVCs that have been produced. We have perhaps two classes of PVCs to talk about here. They were the ones from the previous election that were yet to be collected. As of the 2019 election, INEC said they had registered 84 million Nigerians and about 72 million collected their PVCs before the election. So you got about 14, 16 million PVCs that were supposedly uncollected from 2019. But I know collection was ongoing even post the 2019. So I thought going into this phase, before we even begin to talk about those statistics is to talk about from the last exercise what was outstanding. INEC did a continuous voter registration recently, where after the cleanup of the register, after the display claims, after the cleanup, INEC claimed to have registered about 9 million. So of these 9 million newly registered voters, how many of these PVCs have been collected, have been produced? How many have been dispatched to the state? I think that is where to start from. I was on another program yesterday with one senior INEC official where he was literally celebrating the fact that a state reported they had distributed 100,000 PVCs in the last 1 week. And I asked him, how many PVCs have INEC produced? He couldn't also provide the statistics.
Information.
Yes, and this is somebody in the voter education and publicity department of INEC. So I think that is the one way to start the discourse from. I see that a challenge on the part of INEC that it has not been upfront in providing that needed information to Nigerians. We expect, like I said, by now, that at the end of every day, at least, we should be getting updates of numbers collected. But first, let us start with the numbers produced. Why am I emphasizing numbers produced? Because I thought in my head of this last exercise, the PVCs were supposed to be produced after the process of display claims and objection. That is after INEC would have cleaned up the register of voters. Display claims and objection ended, I think, by the second week of November, and then by the a month, literally a month after that, INEC started the PVC distribution at the local government level. Between the period that the display ended and the period that INEC commenced PVC collection, how many of those cards were ready? That is point number one. Another point to make is that there were concerns also around these PVCs. If we think also that INEC has been under attack in the last 4 years, INEC facilities, um, I think the last count was about 53 attacks on INEC, direct attack on INEC facilities. Some of these were even warehouses where PVCs were stored. So how many of these have been reproduced? Recently, Nigeria suffered a devastating impact of flooding.
Yes.
Yes, that affected so many states. So think about some voters that may also have been affected, impacted by this flooding, and who have lost their PVCs. I am sure some of these will have approached INEC to ask for a reproduction of their PVCs. How many of these have also been produced? There were voters that also transferred their PVCs. How many of these PVCs to date have been produced? That is the point where to start from. Now, I am also concerned because by the new electoral act, the conclusiveness of the coming election will be determined by the number of PVCs that have been collected. Meaning, if you think about the discussion around the margin of lead principle, that is where you don't have a clear winner from a polling unit, for instance. They will look at the difference between the two winners and the number of PVCs that have been collected for those polling units before and will think about a rerun in the polling unit. Now, if we don't have these figures with barely a month or so to the election, it's a big question, a concern. I'm sure in the coming weeks, INEC has extended this process until January 29th.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get a hard stop by January 29th because INEC um, will want to collect data of the previous data that they have distributed so they can prepare for the election. Now, this is barely about 2 weeks from today. That is why I said it's important we know how many of these have been produced and then a daily update of how many have been collected so that Nigerians are also not technically disenfranchised by INEC's own mishandling or mismanagement of the PVC collection process.
Okay, now if you check most of the if you check most of the comments and most reviews now, especially in the media from citizens, you hear people saying, okay, they are like long queues, in collection works. How do you think this affects persons with disability?
I think at this point, all of us have disability if I'm not able to access my PVC because what affects one affects all. The point to make here is I am aware in recent time INEC came up with what they call an SOP, standard operating procedure that should regulate the conduct of PVC collection across all the 8,809 wards across the federation. But implementation is a problem because based of this SOP that was produced, the first to do is upon collection of this PVC from the national headquarters is to sort them according to what? Sort them according to also in alphabetical order according to the registered voters. Now, in many places where we had observed this has not been done. Beyond that, also is the fact that this is not rocket science, for God's sake. We at the moment we should have a data bank of voters in this country with their location. And if people have moved location, it's a function of just going online to update their location. And then could send a text blast to tell people where to pick up their PVCs from. I know there have been effort by other groups to also connect people to wards or location where they could pick up. But to a large extent, that has not been effective. Now, so you go, why these centers are overcrowded is because you go and you realize that these PVCs are not sorted in and in a seamless manner that can help people to just navigate through the process. And then in some instances, you go, the officials, I mean, the number is overwhelming. You just find a few officials there. Some of them don't even know how to do crowd control, don't know how to manage the crowd. So you see people jumping over them, people shouting over them, and all of that. So those are the concerns at the moment. What do INEC need to do? Uh, I mean, I welcome the idea of extending the period by 1 week. To be honest, I feel like the 1 week will still not be enough, given what we have seen, because the idea of extending by 1 week is that after that, either we'll go back to the old system of distributed collection at the INEC local government offices, which oftentimes we have realized also has been far from the place of domicile of voters. But then the point to make is, I think in the coming days, is to sort out this card is to first sort out this card by the wards and the number of registered voters. And then if INEC is also feeling overwhelmed by that, INEC will ask for support from volunteers. I'm sure even the Albino Foundation could gladly also offer help here if INEC wants, and even CS or other CSOs, volunteers to help sort out the card, volunteers even in crowd control, in queue management, for instance, then that could help to hasten the process.
Right, the program is still Disability Inclusion and Mental Service of Radio Nigeria. We are here to talk about PVC collection and persons with disabilities. We have Paul James, the program manager, Elections Yada Africa. Right, we'll call now the phone line shortly. But before then, let's take our news updates. Do stay with us.
Mr. Paul, we all have disability.
We don't have disability in this
I cannot
case.
hear you.
So anybody that cannot access his or her PVC.
We are challenged. All of us are challenged.
then people can call him. Have his telephone in the office.
So
Like another number for to use in case this one doesn't work. Many thanks, Jemima Paul. It's the election season. And speaking of election, we're here to talk about PVC collections. Have you collected your PVC? The program is still Disability Inclusion on the Network Service of Radio Nigeria. The general election is right around the corner, and this is just one opportunity that determines 4 years in Nigeria, the next 4 years in Nigeria. So do well, collect your PVC, do all you can to make sure you beat the deadline of January 29th to collect your PVC in case you've not collected. My name is still Jennifer Obo on the program, and the guest for today is the Program Manager Elections, Yaga Africa, Paul James. We'll go on a quick break. A musical message now by Tubawa, popularly known as Two Face, Simi, and other artists, telling us what election means and your duty you need to uphold to make sure that this country is better and good for every one of us. To stay with us. This my headphone is not loud enough. Try to be. Exactly. Oh my god, I don't know if you heard that song. I want you to just make a quick reaction. No shading, no sentiments. Just make a quick reaction to that song. And should there be any excuse for not collecting, your PVC as a Nigerian?
Well, I think that, well, that wouldn't be any excuse, but we also have to really commend Nigerians. I see the enthusiasm on the part of Nigerians to
Mm.
participate in the process, to engage and collect their PVC. The only encouragement I will continue to offer here is that INEC should also make the process seamless. That shouldn't, I mean, whatever is the encumbrance that people are encountering at the moment shouldn't stop them. They should not be deterred. They should continue to push until they get the PVCs.
All right, 0705 1493324 is the number to call and participate. 0705 1493324 or 0915 0910482 The program is Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We're talking about the review of PVC collection by persons with disabilities, including the challenges and way forward. Now, um, in your experience as the program manager elections, Yaga Africa, what do you think might be some of the challenges for persons with disabilities now to collect their PVCs?
I think access to the locations where this PVC distribution is happening, to a large extent, this might not also be an INET problem. It's something that has been with us for a long time. If you think about even location of polling units on election and all of that, there were things that happened before now, something that INEC is trying to correct. But like I will keep saying, I don't also think that we should allow that. I mean, we should put that should be the major point for discussion, but rather that INEC should make this process as seamless as possible. Because beyond that is also the fact that you go to some of these locations, INEC officials are not as friendly as you expect. Like I mentioned in the opening, most likely because they are overwhelmed and also they don't know how to manage the crowd. Sometimes they could get overwhelmed and also say things that are out of order. For some persons, uh, they would rather you even hit them than you utter some words because some words hit deeper, they cut more
Mm.
deeper. So especially our friends with disabilities, sometimes they don't want. I mean, you wouldn't want on the basis of because they have those disabilities to also want to do things that would technically also disenfranchise them.
Hello, that's what I have a call. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Who are we speaking with and where are you calling us from? Mr. Abuna, thank you so much for joining us today. Mm, mm, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Abuna. He actually mentioned something that never happened in the history of Nigeria, but for the sake of persons with disabilities, Is this possible?
No, I don't think. Well, I mean, I understand where that concern is coming from. Doing that also will open more challenge. It will open more corruption in that space,
Mm,
collection by proxy. This is because we have seen also some fraudulent practice that have happened in the past where people cloned PVCs.
mm.
So if you give PVCs out by proxy,
Just for persons with disabilities alone. Is it possible where their PVCs are being taken
so
to their
I
respective
sincerely
location?
don't know whether there is a place on the PVC card that will also indicate whether a person has disability or not. I'm not very sure. So
Okay.
it might be very difficult to begin to weed out the ones that are for persons with disability or not. And like I told you, all of us have some form of disability. If I'm not able to access INEC office, it's a disability. If I don't have resources to transport myself to go to the ward, it's also another form of disability. So it affects everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concern. I was almost lynched in Kogi State, Egume, sometimes just after the 2019 election. I went there to carry some research, and the people of the community were angry because some persons came before the election and collected the codes on their PVCs. And then on election day, they realized that some persons had voted on their behalf.
On their behalf.
Yes, so
Wow.
there are a lot of fraudulent practices that are happening with regards to PVC, especially now that our elections are getting better.
Mm.
With the new electoral act and also the bimodal voter registration system that we now have in our elections, you have to have the PVC. To a large extent, the person also has to be physically present. But you know, Nigerian politicians, if they are able to accept this PVC, they may be able to beat the system, the process, especially the one about biometric fingerprints and the face. They could come up with other tricks. But for now, I think it is extremely difficult for that to happen. It's just to continue to appeal to INEC to see, like I will keep saying, how this process will be less strenuous for persons with disability.
Right, 07051493324, 07051493324, 09100, 0910, 07051493324 or 0915 That's the number to call. We are streaming on Facebook at the Albino Foundation. You can drop me a comment while watching us live. We're talking about PVCs and of course collections by persons with disabilities, the challenges and the way forward. You can call us and make your contribution on the program today. Now let's talk about missing PVCs. Like go through the pain of registration, and when you want to collect your PVC, they are giving you a story of your PVC is missing. What kind? How can you comment? What's the
So
reaction to that?
my reaction to that would be that INEC has not also been upfront in its communication to voters. Perhaps they are not also communicating in the language that voters will understand. There are a lot of things that could account for missing PVCs or PVCs to not be produced. One of which, like INEC will say, is that the case of multiple registration.
Okay.
Where they discover multiple registration, they don't print the PVC. So, but then how do I know that I register? I did multiple registration. There were a lot of things that happened during voter registration. Remember, the process started from an online pre-registration, and then you approach INEC office for a physical registration. And while that process was also happening, there was some misinformation that happened. A purveyor of fake news went on to tell Nigerians that the registrations from 2011 was invalidated, that people need to go and revalidate their registration. So most people went on to re-register again. Another thing that also happened is some persons, perhaps in the cost of trying to transfer their registration or change their detail, or I mean, do correction to some of their details from the online registration, would then go and apply for a new registration. But then INEC is also culpable in this because, I mean, you can't complete the process without going to the INEC office. And if I go to an INEC office and you realize that I had this registration, I had registered previously, common sense will prevail. The officials will tell the people that here we cannot register you twice or you had this registration already. So most of these officials allowed this to happen. If you recall, there was also a communication by INEC that they were going to punish any staff that had been found
Yes,
culpable.
I was actually thinking that we sorted out this issue of
Exactly. So
registration.
what has
Why are we
happened?
here?
Can we go back to that? What has happened? Why should Nigeria suffer for the stupidity of some of these INEC officials? So it's neither here or here. There is two ways. INEC is actually some persons.
Okay, sorry, sir. Let's take this call. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Who are we speaking with and where are you calling us from? Across Nation, thanks for joining us today. What do you have for us? Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Sorry, we didn't get you. Can you say? Yes, ask the question. Go ahead and ask your question. Yes. Okay, if there is a synergy, are you talking about the synergy in disability community?
No, I think he wants to understand the different forms of disability. I'm not sure this is.
Okay. Okay, I guess to react to your question.
No, I think the foundation will react to the question.
Okay, but in as you know in your position, what would you say about this?
That's why I keep saying there are different forms of disability that you can think of. Some persons will look at it from the physical disability, there is mental disability, there is health disability, there is also pocket disability. So you understand?
Or should this be a hinge now in terms of election? I mean, some of these challenges you've mentioned as some of the setbacks are things that I think we ought to have sorted as a nation, several years ago. Why are we still here?
Well, I think because we don't also, this was not properly documented. It's in recent time that efforts by groups like Albino Foundation, Inclusive Friends Association, John Appeal, Joint Association of Persons with Disability, that is trying to bring this to the fore. Now, INEC is also becoming more intentional in the engagement of persons with disability. INEC is doing brain ballot guides, for instance. INEC is bringing magnifying glasses to polling units. You are also beginning to see an intentional mainstreaming of persons with disability that in some public forum now that is live stream, you will see some sign language interpreters that are shown on the screen that are trying to also provide that support for the community to be able to follow the conversation that is happening. So I think the awareness is coming up. And then relating it to what we are saying now, you want to begin to see how these are concretized into action. If we want to increase the percentage of persons with disability in the electoral process, then perhaps this is the opportunity that from the process of the voter registration, we made the process open, we made the process less stressful for them so they're able to participate meaningfully and effectively.
Okay, one of the challenges that persons with disabilities face, is poor communication. Poor communication in the place, voter education, what they need to know, the process and everything. How do you think this challenge should be combated?
So you see, the problem always is that we tend to be reactive instead of proactive, and that is also the same as INEC. INEC are not superhumans; they are people like us. I also keep saying that if you are always very open to Nigerians and tell them the challenges, especially, and what we are doing to mitigate the challenges, I think Nigerians will be better prepared. Nigerians will not be caught aware if this will happen in the future. For instance, there was a video that circulated recently about INEC officials harvesting numbers from people's PVC. There was a negative reaction to it that caused even the National Commissioner for Voter Education, First Okoye, to issue a statement about that. What INEC was simply doing at that point was to collect the voter information from the cards into a central database so they will communicate to the voters that their PVCs are ready. So those are the kind of thing you want. INEC would have informed Nigerians before that process started. But that until Nigerians reacted before the whole communication thing happened. You got 2 weeks before the end of this process, and then I'm sure in their heart of heart, know that even them, the 1 month window wouldn't have been enough for them. It is okay that they did what they did because for us Nigerians sometimes we also love the 11th hour miracle. We went on to the last minute to begin
Exactly. I think that's what is even happening now with the PVC
yeah,
collection.
but again, for INEC, it still doesn't stop them. They are the agency, they are the organ of government responsible for conducting our electoral process. Whatever they will do to make the process effective, please, they should do it, especially with as it relates to proper communication to the disability community. We are seeing efforts by a group, for instance, to be tracking targeted voter education messaging, targeted voter education campaign, especially to this special interest group, youth, women, and persons with disability. So, I mean, if these efforts are also happening, we want to see also on the part of IDEN, what sort of communication are they doing in relation to this ongoing process that will help the persons with disability. INEC had, for election day, INEC guideline has specified, for instance, that priority should be afforded to elderly, women, pregnant women or nursing mothers and persons with disability. This is for election day. I guess it's also going to be the same for the voter for the PVC collection now, but how many people are aware of that? So we want to see deliberate communication about this process. Hey, if you're a person with this form of disability, approach our office in so location from this time to this. There could be a special time, for instance, for them to come engage the process. You don't want a person with albinism, for instance, to come and queue up in the hot sun with every other person. You could say if you have this sort of disability, we're opening this window, this opportunity to come between this time to this time. Officials will be there to attend to you specially. Then perhaps, I mean, you give them that sense of belonging, you give them that confidence that the commission is also thinking about them and their needs in the process.
Okay, now from your experience as an election observer, what's the percentage of PWDs that come out to vote during election? How
Like,
would you rate it?
well, I have been telling you, the problem before now has been that we don't have that data. But in recent time, there have been efforts by the Inclusive Press, by Albino Foundation to gather and harvest the data. And this will be the first time, especially in a nationwide election, that will have this put into play. That you are going to have INEC forms capture persons with disability. I think from AC40H, capture persons with disability. In recent elections in Ekiti and Oshun, for instance, there were attempts to do that. In Oshun, some of the officials were even persons with disability. What has not happened was at the end of the election, we did not hear from INEC, for instance, how many persons with disability participated in the process. So perhaps let us make it a reform discourse that after this election, we want a disaggregated data of, because what usually happens is at the end, votes are just counted. Can we begin to disaggregate these votes by what percentage of young persons voted, what percentage of women voted, what percentage of persons with disability, because this can be tracked for the register of voters since we already have the disaggregated data for now, based on what INEC released of the 93.4 million Nigerians of people in different categories, the youth, the women, the farmers, the artisans, students, and all of that. When they come to vote, can we have all of this disaggregation against somebody's name? So that when I come to vote, INEC will ask me, are you a young person? Yes. Age bracket that is captured. Are you a student? Yes. Are you a person with disability? At the end of the election, let us have all of these figures documented. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, perhaps, let us have this, and then it will be a template for future elections in the country. The challenge has always been that we don't have that record, but hopefully INEC will do something better this time.
Right, if you're just joining us, it's Disability Inclusion, and we're reviewing the PVC collection by persons with disabilities, including the challenges and way forward. So far, we've been speaking with the program manager elections here at Africa called James, and we're still entertaining calls. Kindly call the number 0705 149 3324. 0705 or 0915 Now um, let you know some things about the 2018 Disability Act. Facts about the Disability Act. So, in the Disability Act, Section 28 and Section 29 of the Disability Act guarantees a person with disability with the right to work and earn a living in the labor market or in a working environment on an equal basis with others. Okay, hello, we have a caller. Hello, good evening. Fine, thank you. Please, can you be audible? We are having troubles hearing you. Yeah, go ahead. What's your name and location? Hmm. Thank you so much for calling us, Mr. Adam. Okay. Are you a person with disability? Okay. So specifically, what area are you talking about? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Adam. Okay. 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 Still on the issue of
So
accessibility.
that's exactly my point. I told you all of us have some form of disability. Adamo has a challenge now. He cannot access information about how to pick up his PVC. Perhaps Adamo needs to start by going to, he should first know where he registered and the local government where he registered. So the quick and easiest solution will be to go to the local government and then they will direct him to the ward where he should go pick up his cash from.
Okay. And we still have our guests in the studio to entertain your questions. We have less than 15 minutes to call this program a wrap. So, as I was saying, the disability. Okay, hello, good evening. Who are we speaking with? Am okay? Thanks for joining us. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much, Mommy Harmony. I mean, it takes a lot to even come out and make this kind of observation. How do you react to what she said?
I think it is important that I mean, we track these issues and also make an official complaint to INEC. We are aware, and even INEC is aware that some of its staff are aiding and abetting vote buying because this is a clear case of vote buying. Yeah, what they do is they harvest these PVCs, and in the election they collude with these INEC officials and find how to use them. So it is expected that if we find any of this, we expose them. She already know the location where she went to pick up the
Yes.
PVC, so at least first we have one evidence, and she also could know the staff that are involved, or even the date. I never know the staff that is on duty for every day or every week of this assignment. So that's the point to start. I think she should expose them. There is no INEC official or INEC staff that will ask you to begin to release these details because they already have this on their
Like it's
records
not
already.
supposed to. Like you don't
She's
have
not
any
supposed to
business
share
with
this.
anybody's
She
details.
doesn't. She's not supposed to share this with any third party. So it's a clear case of community collusion there with INEC officials to commit corruption in the system. So I think that should be exposed.
Yes, I need to voice out. 0705 149 3324 0915 091 048. So still disability inclusion on the network service of radio in Nigeria. So the Disability Act is here for you to know and know that persons with disability have equal rights just like any other member of the society. So the Disability Act guarantees a person with disability with the right to work and earn a living in the labor market, also in a working environment on an equal basis with others, and hindrance are free from hindrances to employment. So persons and companies who breach this provision are liable on conviction to nominal damages of a minimum of 250,000 payable to affected persons. That's when an individual commits the offense, or 500,000 naira when the company commits the offense. So the principal officers of a company are also liable to pay 50,000 naira damages to the affected person with disabilities. Disability, I beg your pardon. So all employers of labor in public institutions shall have at least 5% of persons with disabilities in their employment. Yes. So we have another caller. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you so much for joining us. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Okay, thank you so much, Harrison. Just to let you know that voting is actually your civic responsibility, is your responsibility. I don't know, something just came to my thoughts. Do you think it's possible where individuals in these remote places, especially persons with disabilities, can organize themselves and know that okay, specific number of persons located in so and so place have not collected their PVC. I may come to our aid. Is this possible with the limited
It is
time that we
possible.
have?
This has been
Okay.
done in other elections. In Anambra election last year, for instance, 2021. I know of groups that make this arrangement where people go to churches to do that. At the moment, I don't have specific locations where that is happening, but I don't think it is cast on stone that they have to happen in those locations, especially when you want to encourage participation for persons with disability. I think if they organize themselves, and they could be able to support the process. But beyond that also is that there are groups, it's just to reach out. There are groups that are also working at helping to move or mobilize people to how to where they can get registered. There are NGOs, even individuals. Yesterday I saw pictures of Kacha, for instance, doing something, engaging people, asking if they had collected their PBCs and giving them resources to go and pick up PBCs. So there are individuals that are also doing that. But I think that should also not be an excuse. The way Nigerians are interested in this and the kind of interest that is in the election. I'm sure if I come to you today and I say I will collect, gladly offer me the 100.
Like, seriously, David will not collect you.
Exactly, that shouldn't be.
So, this program comes up every Saturday, 7 p.m. from 7 to 8. Disability inclusion, we talk about persons with disabilities, we highlight their challenges, their equals, just like every member of the society. So, as usual, we like to let you know our star of the week. So stay with us. Our star of the week is Mr. Suleiman Idris, and here is an information for you. To stay.
What am I supposed to do?
Sir?
What am I supposed to do?
Not yet. I'm not even started. Nothing. That's I just like to post snippets of discussion on my social media platforms. Alright, such an inspiring short story just to let you know that integrity and dignity is very key to any human being. It's still disability inclusion and network service of Radio Nigeria. So far, we've been reviewing PVC collection across each state in Nigeria, especially as it concerns persons with disability. And we've had the pleasure of hosting the Program Manager Election Yaga Africa, Mr. Paul James, on the program today. So I don't know, in few words, do you have any final message for INEC and persons with disabilities as it concerns PVC collection?
For INEC, I think we should move from words to action. They have made intentional efforts of extending the PVC collection, but we need to review what has been the challenges so far and also see how this can be resolved as quickly as possible. And it is important that for the sake of transparency, ANA begin to release a daily updates on the number of PVCs that have been collected. And like I said in the beginning, the number of PVCs that have also been produced.
Okay.
For the people, especially the people with disability, like I said, whatever is a challenge now, we should think about what participating in this process, we should be looking at the overall picture and what participation in the election could could potentially be for everybody. So whatever is the challenge, let us see how we can navigate through them, somewhat the challenge, and see that we get this. At the end, what matters is getting the PVC. If the challenge is from INEC officials, we should understand they are also humans. They could also have their own limitations, and be patient with them, even as we are patient with ourselves. If the challenge is resources, we can reach out to networks, we can reach out to friends, we can reach out to families and see how they can support to help us get through the process.
Thank you so much. You said a lot. I sincerely appreciate you for coming to the program today. All right, that's it on the program Disability Inclusion. We also want to appreciate all of the callers who called to participate, including Mr. Abuna from Ebonyi State, across the nation, Mommy Harmony from Port Harcourt, Adamu from Adamawa State, Harrison from Cross River State. We hope to hear from you again next week if you keep your dial locked to Radio Nigeria. That's much we have for you today. For more information on the activities of the Albino Foundation, visit the website at www.albinofoundation.org or send a message to 0703 1103773 or 0701 977 3352. The engineers on duty were Christy Hankali and Adeyemi Simon. Studio manager has been Mahmoud Abdullahi. This program is powered by the European Union and the Albino Foundation. Special thanks to the producers Steven Isabu and also a very big happy birthday to Lina Aguncha. She actually clocked a year old a few days ago. We say happy birthday to you in areas. Until next time, my name is Jennifer Ogo. Have a splendid weekend. Bye for now.